What's up, guys? If you're interested in hanging out and chatting with me while I grab footage that you'll likely see in future videos, head on over to my Twitch channel linked in the description below, where we can talk all things COD, gaming, whatever life throws at us. Hope to see you there, but let's get back into the content at hand. Infinity Ward put out an update for Modern Warfare and Warzone yesterday in which it changed a few weapons, and with it, that means that we saw the theoretical death of the Bruen, right? But did we really? Today, I want to run down the new top 10 weapons with you in my books. Talk about firstly the 5 that I really think we're going to start to see as emerging as the new iteration of the meta, but also 5 weapons you can consider maybe say off meta that are definitely still worth your while and can absolutely shred through enemies. As we go along today, let me know a few things. Firstly, did they shake up the meta enough, or would you like to see more done? As well, what's your favorite weapon to use right now in either MP or Warzone? If you liked the video, feel free to drop a like, and of course, if you are new to the channel, do be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare, Warzone, and Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War as we round into what's sure to be an eventful next few weeks. But anyways, let's jump into it. So like we talked about, we saw these changes made and a new subtle variation of the meta within Warzone has been starting to play out. Firstly, I think one that I want to start with is now tied for my number 1 to go to again is the Kilo 141. Before the mid-season update for Season 4 when the Grau was still absurdly OP, the meta was heavily favoring the Grau, but the possibility that would absolutely get nerfed into oblivion was there, so I started a transition to the Kilo, a weapon that has incredible control at a distance, which is what you want for Warzone. Most of your engagements are going to likely be at a distance in a field with cover maybe here and there, but overall, a majority of your gunfights aren't going to be happening right in front of you, but instead at a slight distance. So you want something reliable, something that can put out bullets at a controllable but effective rate and have that damage drop off be somewhat decent. The Kilo does all of that. Being one of those weapons that you can pick up and play, you can be a veteran or a first-time player, and you'll still be able to land your shots with relative ease. For this, I end up running the monolithic suppressor, the Syngard Arms 19.8-inch Prowler barrel, the TAC laser, the VLK 3x optic, and the 60-round magazine. Number 2 on the list, we'll talk about the Grau 5.56. Now, we mentioned that the Kilo was my replacement in preparation for a change in the meta back in Season 4, and while we saw the Bruen really start to pick up speed in terms of being a favorable weapon, the Grau never really lost too much of a step. I think that if you were going from Bruen warfare to Grau warfare, you may notice the extra 1 to 2 shots just simply based upon the damage outputs, but the Grau is still incredibly reliable, even after the attempts to cut it down from a developmental standpoint were made. It barely has recoil when kitted properly, and it can shoot straight as an arrow at mid-range and at a distance, making it again a weapon you surely wouldn't want to pass up if you're trying to laser players, and makes it just that overall reliable weapon. For the loadout, I end up running the monolithic suppressor, the Tempest 26.4-inch Archangel barrel, the Commando foregrip, the 50 or 60 round mag. Again, I've said it before, this kind of really just comes down to whatever camo I'm running on it, because some blueprints have different magazines than others. There's only a 1 to 2 frame difference in the 50 to 60 round magazine, so it doesn't make too much of a difference. And then the Cronin Sniper Elite grip, or if I'm really just feeling like I want a sight rather, I'll use the VLK 3x optic. Number 3 on the list is the MP5. We've talked about the MP5 plenty of times, and I don't think that it's ever going to go anywhere, at least within Modern Warfare. I think that it's the jack of all trades weapon in the SMG category. Its mobility, its damage output, its ability to be controlled at a distance for those mid to long range gunfights where that might not be the most favorable weapon. Sure, like other weapons, it has gotten knocked down a peg or two as well since Warzone was introduced, but it's still that weapon that you can't really beat. That, the MP7, and maybe the ISO are probably my top 3 weapons in the SMG category, but you can't go wrong with the MP5. For this, I end up running the loadout of the monolithic integral suppressor, the TAC laser, the Merc foregrip, the 45 round mags, and the stippled grip tape. Next, honestly, I think that I would still say the Bruen is number 4 here. It's still in that top 5. It's still a weapon that is very viable, and sure, there was a pretty valiant effort put forward in trying to cut this thing down and make it not the most used weapon in all of Warzone, but it didn't do as much as it says on paper. Yes, on paper, you can absolutely take that as a huge hit, but when you transition that into something that is still a viable weapon or the usability of a weapon, you'll notice that it really isn't changed a whole ton. It's still a fantastic weapon. Is it as good as it was 2 days ago? Probably not, and you'll notice that whenever you try and challenge gunfights at an extreme range, but it is still a weapon that is absolutely a viable weapon. If you want to run the Bruen, I definitely recommend the monolithic suppressor, the XRK Horizon 23-inch barrel, the TAC laser, the VLK 3x optic, and the 60 round magazine for that extra mobility. But another weapon that's been jumping into the picture is that of the PKM lately, which has kind of been the somewhat little brother to the Bruen in terms of its damage output, its mobility, and everything that goes along with it. But the PKM is definitely a solid choice and is one that if you run, say, the monolithic suppressor, the 25.9-inch heavy barrel, the tack laser, the VLK 3x optic, and the stippled grip tape, you kit it out for a little bit of that mobility and still have that ability to ADS faster, get in and out of gunfights with relative ease, and also just be able to beam players because it's an LMG. Dropping down into some other weapons here, maybe not necessarily the top 5 or an extension of the top 5, is that of the FAL. The FAL is a semi-auto weapon that, of course, we've talked about plenty of times here on the channel, and the only reason that it's kind of gotten knocked down a little bit here is because it is something you have to be relatively accurate with. It's not something as easy to pick up as, say, the Bruen, as, say, the Grau, as, say, the Kilo, because it is one of those things that requires a precise shot. But if you can end up landing that, you're absolutely golden. For the FAL, I'd recommend running the monolithic suppressor, the XRK marksman barrel, the GI mini reflex, or another side of your choice, the Merc foregrip, and the 30-round magazine, so you have at least enough of an option to take a couple of gunfights, whereas the standard 20 rounds isn't a lot, in my opinion. It's not enough. 24 is getting there, but still doesn't quite do the trick. Then a weapon that I feel like has kind of made its way back up into the meta, or into the relative area that is a viable to use weapon, is the CR56 AMAX. This was one that is kind of the better AK-47, if you will. The AK in Warzone isn't all that great, whereas though statistically it would seem that way, the CR56, if you can manage that recoil and you can actually keep it steady at a distance, it's fantastic. And mounted, it's probably one of the best weapons in Warzone overall. But if you run the monolithic suppressor, the XRK Zodiac S440 barrel, the VLK 3x optic, the Merc foregrip, and the 45-round magazine, you should be able to take on any opposition that comes at you. And while you might need to think a little more methodically about those gunfights that you do take because you only have 45 rounds as opposed to, say, the 50 or 60 on other rifles, the damage output of the CR56 could definitely help you out there in taking that same amount of gunfights in a smaller amount of bullets. Then I'd say the M4A1 comes into the picture here with this one, the previous King of the Hill, one that lasted for quite some time with that crown, but now is kind of slightly down there just because of the way that these other weapons comparably can take these gunfights and the stability that it offers at range. The M4A1 is fantastic in a lot of regards, but whenever you take a look at the weapon at a distance, it becomes harder to manage and harder to control and stay on that pinpoint precision accuracy. The M4A1 is still a great choice, to which I definitely recommend the monolithic suppressor, the Corvus Custom Marksman, the tack laser, the 60-round magazine, and the stippled grip tape, but as opposed to, say, your Kilo, as opposed to, say, your Grau, maybe your FAL even, I think that it just falls short of being the one that comes out of those head-to-head matchups, but that could just be me. Then, jumping over to another weapon here, the ISO is a weapon that is a fantastic addition to your arsenal. This is kind of like the Fennec, but a slower firing and more controllable version of it. The Fennec is great for close quarters engagements, but the ISO is something that compounds on that versatility that it can offer, but at a medium to even somewhat longer range as opposed to other SMGs. To me, I think the ISO is again up there with the MP7, where I'd say it's probably tied with the MP7 maybe right now, and we've talked about the MP7 plenty of times here on the channel, but the ISO with the FSS Nightshade, which is basically your monolithic integral suppressor, the tack laser, the Merc foregrip, the 50-round magazine, the F-Tac Elite ISO grip, which is again just your stippled grip tape, that makes a fantastic build here for this weapon. Then one that's been kind of creeping into the fray is that of the Origin. As much as it is an annoying weapon, if you want something for close quarters play, right now you're going to be kind of hard pressed to lose a gunfight if you have an Origin, to which I'd recommend running the monolithic suppressor, the Forged Tack Precision barrel, the tack laser, the Merc foregrip, and the stippled grip tape, and you'll be able to run through any enemies here with this. If you have, say, an engagement in a stairwell, if you have an engagement in a tight hallway, you're going to win most of those gunfights if you're up close and personal. And to me, again, with that MP7 being tied with the ISO, that's my top 10, or I guess top 11 weapons here that I would definitely recommend within Modern Warfare and Warzone as of right now. That is something that is purely subjective. It is something that this list is based off of my own experiences, my own gameplay, and you could have a totally different answer for your list here, which that's totally fine if so. And if that is the case, I'd love to hear your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. But that's where we're at here. The update yesterday changed a little bit of the weaponry, but was it something that really derailed anything off of the course too much? Not particularly. The Bruen is, of course, still a fantastic weapon. It just got knocked down a few pegs, to which I think there might be some more room for experimentation, some exploration of what else could be a viable weapon for you, to which definitely recommend all these weapons here in this video. But that's where we're gonna wrap it up. I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of this here? Again, what do you think is the best weapon within Warzone right now? Whatever it is, let me know. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare, Warzone, and Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War as we round again into an incredible time coming up here. I'm excited for it. Hopefully you are as well. If you also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. If you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name has been Suppressor. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.